to my channel. My name is Snehal, and for those of you who are new here, I really like to make sewing and DIY videos. So today I'll be showing you how I made a reversible ruched skirt. So a skirt that can be worn 4 different ways. I think it's really cool. So if you want to continue learning how I made the skirt, keep watching the video. So here are the materials I'll be using. I'll be using some elastic that's half the size of my waist, and this elastic is 1.5 inches wide. I'll be using about 2 yards of 2 different fabrics. I'm using this satin-like fabric and also cotton fabric. I'd say if you could use stretchy fabrics, that would probably be better because you wouldn't have to add the elastic. I'm using some string, that's the length of my skirt, some scissors, and tons of paper weights because my pattern is very rolled up, so yeah. So first I wanted to make the pattern for the front of the skirt. The front of the skirt and the back of the skirt are different pattern pieces because I'm adding an elastic in the back, but I want the front waistband to be flat. So the top of the back piece has to be much wider so that I could fit over my hips. So I drew a straight line and then I marked out 13 inches at the top of the straight line, which is half of my waist measurement, and then I marked out half of my hip measurement, about 11 inches below that, and 11 inches is the length from my waist to my hip, and then I marked out 1.5 times my hip measurement because I wanted the skirt to flare out a little at the bottom. Okay, so now I will be making the pattern piece for the back of the skirt. So I mentioned that the back of the skirt has to be wider at the top so that I can add an elastic in the back. So what I did is I took my entire hip measurement, since the top of the skirt has to fit over my hip, and I subtracted the length of the front waistband from that. So since I want the front waistband to lie flat, that is half of my waist, which in this case is 13 inches, and my hip measurement was 35 inches. So I subtracted that. I subtracted 13 from 35 to get 22 for the top of this pattern piece, so that when sewn together, the entire skirt would fit comfortably over my hips. And then I just traced out the rest of the pattern piece because I wanted the length at the bottom to be the same. So yeah, I traced out the pattern piece that I cut for the front of the skirt onto the back of the skirt because I wanted the length at the bottom to be the same. After cutting out both of the front and back pieces, I started to trace the waistband. So the waistband should be the same length as the top of the pattern piece for each pattern piece for the skirt, and it should be 1.5 inches tall because that's how wide my elastic is. I'm not adding seam allowances to these patterns. After cutting out all of my pattern pieces, I cut out all of the pattern pieces out of the satin fabric. I used paper weights to keep the pattern down on the fabric because it kept rolling up. And then I cut out those same pieces out of the cotton fabric. After cutting out all of the pieces out of both my fabrics, I sewed along the side of each skirt to close up the seam, and I did that for both skirt pieces. After sewing up both of the skirt pieces at the side, I turned my cotton skirt inside out so that the wrong side was facing out. After that, I put the satin skirt inside the cotton skirt so that the right sides would be together and the wrong sides would be facing outwards. I pinned at the top to keep it in place, and after doing that, I just sewed along the bottom edge so that I could flip it inside out. After flipping the skirt inside out after sewing the edge down, I top stitched down the bottom edge to keep it flat. Okay, now it is time to add the ruching channel. So since I wanted my ruching channel to be on one of my legs, I measured where the halfway point of the skirt was, and then I measured the halfway point of that so that I could have the ruching 3/4 of the way down the waistband. And then I pinned across the entire skirt in a straight line from the point I measured. I then sewed along the line I just pinned, and then I sewed 2 more lines. So I sewed one line half an inch to the right of that line, and I sewed another line half an inch to the left of that line so I could create 2 channels. After creating the channels, it was time to add the string so that I could add ruching to the skirt. So in order to do this, I seam ripped open a small section at the hem of the skirt so that I could slide the ruching string in. I also lengthened the ruching string a little bit, just because if it was the length of my skirt, I wouldn't be able to tie it at the bottom when it was unruched, so I made it a little longer. And here I am threading the string through the channels using a safety pin. So I threaded it first through the bottom to the top, and then from the top of the skirt back to the bottom. After this, I sewed the waistband pieces at the edge of each piece together. After sewing both waistband pieces at the edge, I put the waistband pieces together so that the right sides were together and the wrong sides are facing outward. So the wrong sides are the ones that have the little hem folded over, as I'm showing you here. And after that, I just sewed along the edge where it wasn't folded over so that I could flip it inside out. After sewing that down, flipping it inside out, and giving the waistband a good press, I sewed my entire waistband onto the skirt, and then I threaded an elastic through the back piece of the waistband. And here is the finished product. That's all I had for you guys today. So if you guys enjoyed watching that video, make sure to leave a like on this video, go ahead and subscribe, and also leave a comment down below if you enjoyed watching this video or if you have any questions. And if you do decide to recreate this, please send me a picture. I'd love to see it. You can send me a picture on any of my socials. They're linked below. And again, it was great seeing y'all, and I'll see you in my next video.